And today I'm excited because it's episode 13, and we have our first interview. This is our first interview
Yeah,
for the podcast, and it's
yeah,
uh and it's a great interview because a good friend of ours, a very good uh,
yeah. We're going
killer
straight.
comic.
Yeah, we're going straight to the top of the pile. Yeah, not only killer comic, but just one of the best improvisational comics in the business.
Crowd,
Isn't
what do
he?
they call crowd comic? I mean,
Yeah,
if you want to know, like, I think what a crowd comedy, crowd work comedy is, I mean, Ian Bagg is your man to listen
yeah,
to, and he's our guest today, and he's amazing. He's been doing comedy for a while too. I mean, originally from Canada as well,
yeah.
like as well as JJ,
That's what I.
and
That's what I find really interesting. Yeah, so he's from Western Canada. He's from British Columbia. So I can't wait to dig into this because he's from like the interior of the province of BC.
hmm
So I was excited to find out because of course I'm from military bases, which is coastal
yeah,
for my father's military. But I know British Columbia well enough that I'm excited to hear a guy who spent his whole childhood in British Columbia,
yeah.
sharing stories with us about it, about like how he used to spend his family holidays and stuff.
Yeah, and
It's good.
also very excited to listen to because we also talked about so much about like how he started doing comedy and like how life like gave him signs to do
Yeah,
comedy, which was great. Like, which I'm a very big believer of that. Like Paulo Coelho, The Alchemist, that like whenever you want to do something, life tells you that gives you the clues to do.
right.
And we in this interview we listened to Ian gave us like literally like things that he wasn't like life basically told him like you better go do this, and it was so much
Yeah,
exciting to listen to that.
yeah, man. And I find it interesting too that you've actually been to his hometown in British
Yeah,
Columbia and stuff. So that was a great connection as well.
yeah, we talked about that because he took me there for he would do a show. He does a show for his hometown, and he invited me with another comic, and it was great to see where he grew up, and we talk about where he his whole his house and his parents and everything where he's come from. So it was
Yeah,
very exciting to listen to Ian,
yeah,
talk about his roots,
yeah. Super cool. I don't think we could have asked for a better guest for our
especially
first
our
guest.
first guest,
Yeah, man.
especially, and that's why you were wearing your
Oh, that's
your
right. I've worn
your
a. I wore a. This is a Wayne's World. A
because
Wayne's World.
he's a very big Ian is a very big hockey fan,
He is. He is a big hockey man, so I had to do whatever I could to get into that hockey vibe for him to show him some
Yeah.
appreciation.
Are you a big hockey fan? Not hokey, not
I
hokey pokey, but hockey.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the hokey. I love a I love a little ice hokey. Um, yeah. It's mandatory if you're Canadian, you have to be a bit of a hockey fan, or they kick you out of the
But like,
country.
are you a huge fan, or like, are you like, I'm a fan?
I think I'm a pretty big fan. I think that's my number one. I mean, I like sports in general, but yes, I am knowledgeable
Okay.
of how the teams are doing and stuff. So yes, I'll say I pay for the NHL channel. Let's put it that
Oh,
way.
okay. Well, all
I
right. Yeah,
mean,
okay.
I'm a,
You're above the average fan.
yeah. I mean, let me ask you, brother. When you're writing or churning out comedy and stuff, do you like a sport sometimes in the background, or do you like music? What do you like to do that helps you maybe concentrate or get to, like, if you're trying to fill it, like say you're trying to write a sketch or write some stand up?
Yeah, for that, it was funny. Like when I used to do, when I was in college and high school, I like to I need to go into, I could listen to some music or something, but it's
Yeah.
music that's like for writing,
Right.
like that, like Barnes and Nobles, for example,
Right.
stuff like that, like
Like
music where you're like,
classical music.
whatever they play, like you don't, I mean, I can't listen to music that I like because then
Right.
I'm gonna be like actually listening or singing to it, stuff like that. But yeah, and with TV, like with stand up and stuff like that, no, I do have to like kind of like concentrate a little bit, because I do, if I am, especially with sports, I can't like be writing something and then watching sports. To me, that's not gonna, I'm gonna be
Right.
what then sports is gonna take over,
Yeah. See, if
so
I'm see, I mean, I kind of stand with you on that. In that, I've started to realize recently, because I have trained myself over the years to think, oh, I can leave a hockey game on, and just write, and concentrate here. And then if something exciting happens, then I can take a 30-second break and watch the highlight. I told myself that that's fine. But you know what? You're right. Eventually you realize, no, I got to shut off all distractions.
Yeah.
And maybe have some music on. But if I play music that I know, then all of a sudden I'm lip syncing to it and I'm not getting anything done either.
I do not like just being completely quiet that much either.
It's
That's what I'm
hard.
saying.
It's
I do
hard,
like
isn't
to
it?
have like, like when I go to YouTube and just listen, you just put like music to writing or music to study,
Yeah.
and like that I don't listen to that, because then that I can just, but I do need some kind of like something going. Or sometimes, I mean, I am listening to my sets, or whatever, and then I'm like, then that's kind of like, oh, if I'm writing, for
Yeah.
example, bits and stuff like that. I do also want to remind our audience before we start this interview with Ian that to follow us and to subscribe to our channel, in on YouTube and on Twitch, and to follow in our social medias and our personal social medias. You can follow JJ Whitesnake on Instagram, Twitter, and everything else, and you can follow me at F Ramos Comedy on Instagram and TikTok, and Francisco Ramos on Twitter.
Yeah. Now, before we throw it, I just want to do one quick follow-up with you, though. What is your number one favorite sport? Because you and I have gone to baseball together.
Yeah.
We've gone to the Dodgers together. But of course, and you and I are in a basketball pool together. So
Yeah.
these are all sports that I like. I like them all. So, but I had to pick hockey as my number one. But I've never asked you, is baseball your number one or is basketball your number one?
I think it's funny because baseball is like my sentimental one, because that was my dad's number one sport.
Right.
But I have become more of a basketball fan for the past years. Like I know so much more about basketball than baseball. Like in terms of like the players and what's going on and all that stuff. I mean, the fact that I am in a league with you, and other comics, that is a basketball league, that tells you all. Like I'm not in any like baseball fantasy or any other else. So like I do have to say that basketball has become my number one sport to watch and to know about. But it's like you. I love sports. I mean, I grew up. I saw baseball. I love it. I watch football. I love tennis. I mean, that's well. I do have to say sorry. I mean,
that's right. You used to teach tennis. Yeah, I love that joke.
So tennis is so tennis is like my number one sport through. Like that's the one that I love to watch. I mean, but basketball have become...
I used to love that. That was that joke when I first moved here to LA. You were doing the joke about your kids won't focus.
Yeah, that was one of the first first singles in the career. Yeah, that's the focus one. Yeah, it's but and that happened through... I mean,
that happens from real life.
Yeah, I did teach tennis. I did. I mean, the focus thing was because of like going in, like same thing happening in high school. Like I would say beach and bitches, like I was like doing a presentation for like Venezuelan bitches, because it's so, because that's the thing about, like even like what I said before, like the thing about English is like hockey, like just little bullshits. And it's so annoying because in Spanish is 5 sounds. A, E, I, O, U. That's it. But in English, it's like there's like 7 ways to say A. There's 5 ways to say E. Yeah.
Right.
So that's why.
A lot harder of an adjustment. So yes, to that being said, before we throw it to this man, I will say, yes, huge in hockey. He's even worked on various hockey projects. He's got a hockey podcast and like. So yes, this is Ian Bagg's hockey hobby has become it's a big part of his life as well. So I think they're gonna love meeting him. You want to do the throw, man?
Let's do it. Well, this is episode 13 with our first guest, the funny and talented and good friend of ours, Ian Bagg. Váyalo.
Hello, Ian. Welcome to the show, man.
Hello, guys. Thanks for having me to the show.
Thank you, Ian. Sorry for that technical difficulties.
You guys don't have to explain anything. We've all been through it. You know, technology is your friend and your enemy at the same time.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you're sometimes like a. I was gonna say family, but then I was like, no, that's a little too dark.
No, it's like they read The Art of War. You know what I mean? They suck you in and then they kill you. They kill you.
Yeah,
That's true.
Especially in this day and age, and trying to pull this off, we've got so many moving parts, you
Right.
know, and multiple. You know, when you get into streaming or doing a podcast live, everybody's like, you need this in StreamYard and OBS and some studios, and we've done our best to get it together, but it's, you never know what's going to go wrong.
As long as
I
you guys are having fun, that's what counts.
That's true.
Thanks. That's just like a Canadian mom would say.
I'm a Canadian mom.
Just get out there and have fun, boys. Now, because of the glitches, sorry, I'm reading things flipping up on my screen, but am I reading correctly? Francisco, have you not had a chance to grab the? Are you all right for the questions?
Yeah, I was just needed
'cause-
to defend.
Just because, of course, everybody, because not only were we overly ready and then Spectrum ruined our lives, but now we're technically not ready because Spectrum ruined our lives.
Oh,
But
Ian, I think also first of all, I think we should introduce Ian to the public for the few people that don't know who he is.
Oh,
yeah, man, do it.
For the few people, well, Ian is a very, very, very famous comedian, good friend of mine. You've been performing for stand-up. I'm gonna say around 20 years. Is that?
I would say about 25 years. Yeah,
25 years. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I figured that.
That's older than me. No.
Pandemic. I'm like, I'm gonna do it how long? Oh.
No, the
I thought it
time
was
she
a decade,
flies.
Yeah, you're so over 25 years. You're originally from Canada, and then you moved but you've been living in LA in the US for a while, and you've done pretty much everything. And we had the chance to compete against each other, and then last comic standing, where you beat me up very, very hard. Like you were like, it's like we were playing hockey, and then you just hit me up like with a stick while we're.
You're so funny. You're the funny. You're so funny. You're the funniest Francisco I know, and we had fun on that show, and it was a great time. Competitions are so stupid, you know. It just like it doesn't make sense at all. I don't know how they do comedy. Like they never do painting,
especially in an art form.
Yeah,
especially in an art form.
Yeah. It should be a museum versus museum.
yeah. That was, and the funny too was like before we went up, they were trying to like ask me questions so I could like go at Ian. It's kind of like, so you're gonna go after him? Like, what do you have? And I was like, no, he's my friend. Hopefully he does great. I mean, whatever. But it's like, but they were trying to like, stir the pot, and I was like, no, it's.
They wanted drama.
They wanted drama. I said he killed my father. It was I put all that. He's like, he's a
that's why they picked you. Yeah, I figured. I should have gone for that. I was like, yeah, he killed my dad. Yeah.
I think that it was so funny on that whole thing. Do you remember when they made us fill out we were going to get a person to help us, our mentor. They were going to give us a mentor, and they gave
that's right, yeah,
a big sheet of list of names, like from all the way from Bill Cosby,
yeah,
down
like even Richard Pryor, and he's like, isn't he dead? No,
yeah,
like, well, he might show up.
Yeah. There was 50 names, and we had to check off the ones that we wanted most. And then when it came to getting your mentor, it was just the producer of the show.
Yeah,
it was just like, they didn't even try.
It was just false hope, was it?
Yeah, it was just false hope. It was so stupid. and then I remember she asked me if I wanted help, and I was like, no, thanks.
Oh yeah, I remember.
I'm like, no, I got this. I don't need your help. Yeah, but I've got a Grammy award. That's nice. I'll do this myself.
Yeah, because it was funny. Like they gave you. I think it was kind of like when they're looking at you, like the police. The police are watching you from like the glass to see who they picked. Because it's like, are they gonna pick the producer or are they gonna pick somebody else? It's like, yeah, but if you give us like 50 choices, it's like, yeah, you're gonna pick other people,
It was so many choices of sandwiches, and then they were mad that we didn't want grilled cheese.
Oh God.
Yeah, no, it was fun. I mean, I wish the only thing that I wish I would have gotten to be able to tour with Ian
It would have been
and
fun.
the guys, because that would have been fun. Because I mean, it was like in a bus, and I never would have. I mean, never done that, so it would have been fun just to be like felt like a rock star in a way, like a band.
was.
You know what I mean?
Oh, did only the final 5 go on tour
Yes.
together?
Yeah.
Oh, Francisco. So you just barely missed it, man.
Barely missed it.
Yeah, because
pushed
I
him
made
off
it
the road.
to the top 10, you know, and then
Yeah.
Ian killed me.
You should have just had your own tour going next to them. Take the who are the 5 that got eliminated? Just have a rival tour.
Just,
I'm surprised there's not a booker waiting in the wings going, that's what I'll do. They can have the top 5. I'll take 6 through 10.
They should have did
Yeah.
6 through 10 and called it next year's winners.
There you go. There you go. That works for all of us. Yeah, Ian, man, we're really excited, as you know, and we're really thankful that you're willing to do this, because as you're aware, you're our first interview. You're our first guy.
Really?
You know? Yeah.
Yes.
So you're the man. You're taking our interview virginity.
Oh, that's thanks,
off of
guys.
this.
Pretty much.
Yeah, we couldn't have had a better. We thought,
a threesome virginity.
Oh,
yeah, man. Yeah, we thought.
not the threesome I was thinking of, but
Yeah.
I love it. I love so you this is the first interview you guys are doing, and this is the first power outage you've had, and you guys are living in a youth hostel right now while you travel the world.
Yeah, our producer is actually on the roof holding up coat hangers, and he has a cable in his mouth, and he's doing what he
we're in a band, right, in an actual like Scooby-Doo van, you know, or like I'm in the seat in the front, and Shaggy's in the back, you know, we're in the
Yeah, I'm just making it look like I'm somewhere else.
yeah.
Beside each other. I love it. Have you guys done the jam van or whatever it is? Have you done that show where it's
I've done that show. Yeah, it's really cool. I like it.
It's really fun. It's pretty fun.
I think that show should be kept after this. You know, like
There's
that's a cool show. You know, there's some that like the setup is really well done. That like you could do it in LA or in Los Angeles because of the weather. So yeah, I really like it.
Ahmed has the one that's in Venice that you should do afterwards too. It's really cool. Yeah. So
or the pool. Yeah, that's a good one too to do. Yeah. That's the thing about LA. You can do so many outdoor shows, you know, because it's the weather permits it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the rest of the world is pretty. It's pretty. LA is pretty special, and we should be a little bit more thankful when it's windy out. I don't know if I can perform.
I know. Like my biggest complaint, like I was telling you earlier, I was like, I haven't done a gig indoors in a year. That's my COVID complaint. I haven't been under a roof doing comedy. Like, what else you been doing? I've been doing it by pools and on patios and in parking lots.
Next to cars.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's every gig that you would have said no to in February 2020. And February 2021, you're like, yep, when do I have to be there?
Man. Sign me up. It's like like I was saying too, like I'm getting old school adrenaline kicks now too, off of mediocre gig. I mean, come on, we're playing the cars, and we've got people with clackers reaching out their windows and clacking. So it may not be ideal, but we're so starved to pour our guts out on stage that even after these gigs, we're walking around with all this adrenaline going, oh, that was great.
I'm in show business. It's weird to say in show business after that. In a parking lot. You're a homeless guy with a squeegee.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things that separate, like, now, like when I especially when doing those shows that are in the park, like the only thing that separates us from like homeless is the mic. If we don't have the mic, it's just we're just some random guy yelling stuff in the park, which is every homeless guy.
just a dude shouting in a park, man.
Just a dude shouting in a park, which my dad predicted many years ago.
Now, Ian, I don't know if you know much about our podcast here, but basically, we talk shit, and we're going to talk a bit about traveling in the arts. Is the bent that we lean towards. So you don't have to weigh in with any kind of opinions on the latest politics or anything like that. Wow. We got some eyes coming to us in the feed now, I see. So thank you for coming back. If you did give up on us 20 minutes ago. And I'll let you know we're about to fire the questions at Ian. I'm gonna lay it out to you, big guy. For
All
those
right.
of you who are watching in the chat, as we've done the last couple of weeks, feel free to write some questions that you'd like. We will get to them after we get to these questions. If they're, if they write, we'll have our producer Brian. He'll be selecting the cream of the cream if you have any questions. If not, we are fully stacked with some questions for Ian here. Now, the way it's going to work, Ian, is we've got 7 questions here.
Okay.
Francisco and I are each going to rotate. We're not looking for long answers on the first pass around. We're just looking for a brief, like the destination or what was up, just in a sentence. That'll allow anybody watching at home to go, oh, he just mentioned Boston or whatever. I want to mention Boston.
Okay.
So that's what we'll do is we're going to fire these questions at you, and then we're going to circle back around and we're going to dig deeper into the questions and get to know Ian Bagg. Does that sound cool, man?
Yeah, I love it. It's a first round of interviews. If I pass, there's a chance I might go to the second round.
Yeah, it could go forever. And then Spectrum will pull the plug on us.
And then somebody will pay their bill.
Right in the middle. So
well, cool. Then I think let's just start.
Right on.
Ian, so I'm going to ask you the first question. And yeah, just give like a brief answer for this one.
Okay.
In your career, in your 25-year career, what destination was the hardest to get to?
The hardest to get to? Nome, Alaska. Nome, Alaska.
All right, cool.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. From Fairbanks to Nome, Alaska.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds epic. All right, buddy. Now, this is a theoretical situation. A friend has invited you to tour with them, and it's the perfect tour. Who is the friend, and what is the destination for this perfect tour?
Oh my God! This has already happened. Can I use it? It already happened.
You can want to do it again. Sure.
Yeah, I'd love to. China. China was the destination, and the friend that invited me to go to China, Jim Gaffigan.
Oh,
cool. Awesome, man.
Yeah.
That sounds like a fun. Did you bring some hot packets?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
They don't have them in China.
They make them and then they ship them back to America.
Awesome. All right. Third. This is the next question. What kind of travel did you do as a kid for family holidays?
Oh, family holidays I grew up in Terrace, British Columbia. My father was from Trail, British Columbia, and we'd go to Trail every summer for a couple weeks with my parents, and then they would leave us with my grandparents, and we'd hang out on the family farm. Also, it was a farm, and it was also a pick apart, like a car park. So we'd just be playing around there all summer, and they had a pool, and we had to do all sorts of work because my grandparents were from the old school of kids work.
Right.
That's right. And then I go to hockey school for a week.
Oh,
hockey school.
Yeah.
Like I'm a military kid, but I spent some time in BC, and I remember Trail a lot because they had a great baseball team. Yeah, that's how I remembered Trail growing up.
They always had a good kids team, right? They go to the Kids World Series, right?
Yeah, you guys got skills from there. All right, buddy. Has an airline ever lost your luggage, and if so, or lost anything of yours, and if so, which destination were you heading towards?
Oh my goodness. They have lost my luggage, and it's been United and Alaska, and it's on the way home. And then they send it through one of those services. That's one of those services, and a van that's not very good looking. Looks like it would pick up children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, next question. What was your first big move for the sake of your comedy career? Like what was, obviously you moved from Terrace to the U.S. to New York, but I don't know if there's something else.
My first one was Terrace to Vancouver. I started in Vancouver, so that was my first move was Terrace to Vancouver.
Cool.
And I can tell you more, but we'll save that for later.
Oh yeah, no, we'll talk more. We'll wrap up.
We'll save that.
Yeah, man. And buddy, what's your favorite recreational thing to do when you're on the road? What do you like to get up to?
I make sure when I'm on the road that I go to a gym that's not in the hotel. That's the first thing I do. And also I love sporting venues. So I go find the sporting venues to look at their architecture.
Okay, cool.
Mm.
Okay, and then have you ever felt your life was at risk
in your travels?
Afterwards,
Yeah, after a gig, after a fiery gig.
yeah, after it's been a couple times afterwards, I look back on it and went, oh, well, that's probably a situation I shouldn't have had myself in. Once was in Victoria. I was I'll tell that story.
Okay.
I'll tell it later.
One
Awesome.
time.
Later
Sorry.
or right now? No, I'll tell later because it's more than a paragraph.
Awesome.
Right on. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. That gives us our answers, so we know which parts of the world. I mean, there we are. We're all over the world here. We've got. Well, I mean, the first answer is Alaska, which I can only imagine takes forever to get to. So we asked you what destination was the hardest to get to. I assume by hard, are we talking long or are we talking hard because you had to go on mule part of the way or something?
Oh no! It's funny is after I said it, all I could think was, "That's not the toughest one that I've ever had." It was.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can change it. You can change it.
You're allowed to
My
go back.
toughest one was the Montreal Comedy Festival back to Vancouver. That is definitely the toughest one I've ever done, and the reason was that I hitchhiked from Toronto to Vancouver after getting from Montreal to Toronto.
Didn't they offer to pay for the transport?
Oh, I wasn't there. I wasn't there because I got into the comedy festival. I went there because Greg Campbell had gotten into the comedy festival, and I had spent the summer co-featuring for $35 a show. And had like $700 to my name. And I was dating this girl at the time, and she told me, "You have to come home. We have to have a talk." And I was young enough that I didn't know that meant she was going to break up with me.
No!
And I could have just put a couple extra quarters into the phone, and she could have broken up with me. Instead, I hitchhiked on a ride with these guys all the way to Vancouver, and then got dumped as soon as I got out the door.
Oh man! All the way home, you were probably like, "My lady needs to see me." Apparently, we have to have a talk. And everybody's looking at you. Do you know what that means, man? I don't know. I'm glad that we're gonna.
And how did you hitchhike? I mean, like that's such a like.
I met these guys.
Were you doing this?
I just met these guys, and they were. I was like, I gotta go to Vancouver, and they're like, we're thinking about going to Vancouver, and I talked them into going to Vancouver, and they drove me into Vancouver. There was 3 of us in a pickup truck all the way from Toronto to Vancouver, and it was like a little Datsun pickup truck, and sometimes some of us would sleep in the back, and so the 3 of us, and it was pretty stupid. And then she bought me as soon as I got back. Like here, I thought I was going to be Dudley Do-Right and save the day. It did not happen.
I do think. Do you think like that span from the west of Canada? Hello, Alex. By the way, in the chat. Hi, Alex. We're gonna. If you have any questions for fantastic comedian Ian Bagg, feel free to write them down, and we'll get to them after we're finished with these questions. But I was gonna say, do you think? Because most of my hitchhiking experiences, I don't know if it was my age as well, are between Vancouver and like the prairies.
Yes.
Is that the hitchhiking hotbed of the world? Then do you think? Like, is that where?
I think
Canadians love to on the West Coast. I think
it's West Coast, even in America. I think it's at Seattle, Oregon, all the way down to California. I think people still hitchhike a bit, but it's different in Canada because there's no freeways. It's all actual roads, so it's actually easier to hitchhike.
I mean, I never hitchhike. Yeah, I don't like that. I mean, I came from Venezuela. You want to get kidnapped? Like, are you crazy? Like, why would you do that? Like, I would never get in a car.
Not happy. My mom was not happy with me. I can tell you that much. It was, it was. She was a little annoyed. So
yeah, I still haven't told my mom that I did some hitchhiking in my time, and like I think I worked in Banff when I was 18 and 19.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just prime. I went to Canmore and Calgary and stuff, and we would hitchhike into Calgary.
That might be the hitchhiking capital of the world. That
that stint.
That stint right there, Banff to Canmore.
Yeah,
yeah,
I'd say so because we did it frequently, and also picking up hitchhikers. Me and my friends back in the day, we met a lot of really interesting. I don't know. It was just that age that we were at to meet those really interesting people that you're going to meet on that back road from Canmore to Banff. So it's
Francisco was not happy with either of us.
No, I mean, it's like, why? That's crazy. Like, I mean, anybody could just get killed. I mean,
I know, especially in Canada, all that snow, all the body hiding areas.
There's nothing so easy. Body hiding areas.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously like, I mean, I don't know. would you still do it right now, or is it
No,
like
it's
a
that age. It's nothing's
is
gonna
it
kill
age?
me at that
Okay,
age.
got
Yeah. Now I don't. Now I
Yeah.
don't even like it when people like wash my car. You know.
it.
Yeah, it's definitely that activity for when you feel immortal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know that point. So I think we're all old enough now. We've all had a taste of our mortality that we're like,
Yeah.
all right, I don't need randomness of strangers involved
Mhm.
in this life. I
Yeah.
sprained my knee getting out of bed this morning. I sure as hell can't fend off an attacker.
He won't give me time to stretch before I fight back.
Yeah, man. I absolutely love your answer to number two. So we were asking you, like, so we're giving you your ideal tour. Obviously, it would be great if it happened again, but you're immediately referring to something that's already happened, which sounds cool as shit, man. So you toured China with Jim Gaffigan.
Yeah, we did three cities. We did Beijing, we did Shanghai, and I can't remember the name of the other place, but it was a week and a half, and he had his first baby. You know, and that baby came
His
along.
first
wow.
baby. Does he
Yeah.
have like 10 kids?
Yeah, now he's just done nothing but breed. It's just very bizarre. He's seen how few kids they had, and he's like, I'll up you, and he just kept going. But yeah, it was so much fun. We're just we were, suddenly I'm in Shanghai with Gaffigan, and he's just becoming famous, and I'm just having fun, and he's just like, do what you want, and I'd go out there and be stupid, and he'd have a great time, and I'd have a great time, and yeah, there was translators in the audience. It was great. And then we went to Beijing, and we hung out there for a couple days, and the day that we were supposed to go to the Great Wall, I went on an underground that night before, like just tour of the city with these girls, and we ended up in like, it almost seemed like a Vietnam movie. We're in this place, we're partying on this underground place, and I got back to the hotel and had missed the ride to the Great Wall. So I ended up partying with white girls in China and missed the wall. That's what happened.
It happens when you're having fun.
Oh, it does. I was still around that age. I would have still hitchhiked then too. So.
Yeah. You hitchhiked to the wall, to the Great Wall.
Yeah, I should catch up.
So you were partying with white girls in China?
Yeah, I know. Pretty impressive, right?
You didn't go for the Chinese?
No, these white girls from Boston or something.
I think that's the thing when you're like in a foreign country and you find somebody that at least even the language, or you're like, this is like, all right, I guess we're gonna meet.
Right.
Now we're friends for this part of the vacation,
And it was funny because in my head, my mom's from Australia, so in my head, and she always told me as a kid, when you fly to a country, always take the national airline. You'll learn more. And that's what I was thinking in my head. I should do it. White girls. So.
Some interesting advice. What were the venues like at this point? If Gaffigan was just blossoming, I just remember when I was in Shanghai, I remember it was in an American bar. It was like a 3-store American bar where everybody was putting on their American accents if they weren't, and the venue was in there, but it was only about a 300-seater. So this must have been bigger. I'm assuming when Gaffigan
it was about that size. And I would say, I think one of the gigs was at an American something.
Yeah, is it like bar. Yeah, and they've got the whole downstairs is like a restaurant, I remember, and then the venue I think was on the second floor, and they got like amazing cover bands from all around Asia.
Right.
That just blow your mind with the perfect covers of any 80s band and stuff.
It was insane. Yeah, it was fun. I also did the Middle East. Who did I do the Middle East with? I had a good time. I went to Bengal.
Saddam Hussein.
So no, I didn't do that. I did. It's right near India, and I'm blanking on it. And I'm feeling embarrassed. And I'm blanking on it.
Bahrain.
No,
are you trying to think of the venue?
No, I'm trying to think of the country. It's
all right.
It's Bangladesh.
Bangladesh.
Thank you very much. Oh my goodness, I fell apart there. Somebody put me in a hospital. Bangladesh. Yeah, and I remember having just a great time there too. And it was one of those. There was one of those silly gigs that I got away with more than I should have, just being innocent. Like right. I remember saying, I don't get the Muslim men when they get older, they put red in their beard, and they all look like orangutans. They went nuts. They went nuts. They were like, loved it. So
You must have felt leading up to that punchline that I might have to get out of Bangladesh quickly.
Yeah,
after I hit this one.
It was one of those. I'm like, oh, I've gone too far. And it turned out it was okay. So I was like, oh, this is one. Yeah. So yeah, that was Gaffigan was the fun one because it was Gaffigan, right? So, and it was what I loved about it was he was just becoming famous, and I was just kind of getting into my stride, and that's the time you lose friendships with people, right? Not that you're like against each other, but you get so busy, you guys end up going off in different directions, and we were just coming to that, and that was one of the last ones that I got to hang with a friend and really work with a friend. So
yeah. There's a specific sentence that I've heard out of all of my friends when they're in that sweet spot of just getting busy and trying to now capitalize on the opportunities that come away. And the sentence is always, "I don't have room for new friends." And I feel like comedians all say that at some point. I've got enough. I've got my collection.
Oh, really? No, I gotta start saying that.
But it's funny you don't get to really hang with your old friends though, you because everybody's off working, so and doing different projects. So
yeah, ships in the night, man.
Yeah,
that's why I really miss like that's what's great about festivals, isn't it? Because when we're at a festival, we're locked in for the period of the festival, and you're like dogs off their leash at a park. You don't have to run. You don't have to run for a plane, train, or automobile anymore, and your buddies are all there to drink with.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the improv used to be that, and kind of the Comedy Store is now, where everybody kind of run into each other,
Yeah, where like you go in there while you're in town, you go do a spot, and you see somebody you haven't seen in a while, you hang out for a little bit, and then boom, you go back to
when we're working so much, we kind of pass on those spots because you just want to rest, when you're traveling so much. So.
True. Yeah. But I think now it'll be back. I think now after all this pandemic, definitely. There's I think now every comic just to be in a club, that's gonna be like, okay, fine, I'll just be there. I don't have a spot, that's fine. I just want to hang out just for a little bit, and then
I just don't want to go home. I don't want to see my home.
yeah. I saw it too much.
Yeah, entirely, man. I mean, that's what we were like at the Magic Castle when we were there. We're just kind of bouncing off each other. There's all this energy, and I'm like, it's not even a green room. It's just a back alley outside. It's just a back alley outdoors by a parking lot with a bunch of cars in it.
That's actually a guy doing heroin. That is not a comedian. That's actually a guy doing heroin.
Yeah, well, it is Hollywood. So there was those guys as well. So, we just, it's very colorful and eventful.
All right. The third question that we had was, what kind of travel did you do as a kid for family holidays? And your answer was to your grandparents' house, or getting dropped up at your grandparents' house, right?
Yeah. So my grandparents, Trail, BC. They had this big land, and my dad grew up with 3 sisters, and they all lived in that area still. So that's where my cousins were. So it was kind of fun for us to hang out. But my grandparents, I don't think were fond of children, to be honest with you. And I just remember doing a lot of work while I was there, like having to dig up the water lines every time I was there.
This is great. You had manual labor grandparents.
Absolutely.
Exactly. My I think those were my grandparents were the same thing. Every time they would take me and my sister, because we were the oldest of the cousins, to the beach house. All we had to is just work. It's literally like we get there and it's just like, go rake the leaves, go wash the car, go do all this, and like we couldn't, and we had to do it. If not, like we couldn't eat or we couldn't go out. It was like prison.
And they had a pool, and the treat was you got to swim in the pool, and then you realize as you get older, oh, that was our bath. Our bath. After we did all the work, we clean off in the pool. So, but I had one uncle there, and he was a little doo-doo. He married my aunt, and he had gone to Vietnam. And
was she your aunt already when he married her, or did she become your aunt? Are you letting us in on a thing here?
No, she was my aunt. and then he married into the family. It wasn't like it was
okay.
my dad, my uncle, and my aunt married each other. It wasn't
Yeah,
like
yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah, I was like, wow. Okay, I didn't want to say anything. I was like, okay.
my dad's side of the family is so weird. I wouldn't be surprised. Anyway,
Yeah.
so but he carried an M16 with him everywhere, and this is in Canada. Like he had it in the, we would always be in the car with us at all times, and we weren't allowed to wake him up. We weren't, because he tried to choke us out. It was one of those things, and he had scars all over him. And it was he would teach us things. A couple days he would enjoy us, and he would like start teaching us scuba diving, and then we weren't allowed to talk to him for a week after that. So bizarre.
So he's like, I put in my time. That's it. That's enough.
Yeah, it was so weird. And I remember I got in trouble one summer because I remember probably being about 13 or 14 and going down there, one of the last times, and they're like, oh, you have to weed the garden. I'm like, oh, I have to weed the garden. Okay. So I just pulled everything out of the garden. Like I was like, I don't know what your plants and what your weeds. I just just took it all out, and everybody like, he's not coming back here ever again. He's a bad guy. He ruined grandpa's onions.
That's how you do it, though. That's how you make sure you never get asked to do it again.
Yeah, exactly. I'm no dummy.
That's a good move. I was like, I'm not getting paid for this. How am I supposed to know the gardening? What am I supposed to? Just like, you told me to just rip everything out. That's what I did.
That's what I did. You didn't have rules. You made up rules now. Now that I did that, now you have rules. But before you didn't have rules.
Yeah.
What kind of journey, so I'm guessing this is car, from terrace to trail.
Mm-hmm.
This is obviously by car, but what kind of journey are we talking? Is it as simple as, because I'm trying to think on the map, is it like a good 4 hours or something?
Oh no, from Terrace to Prince George is 8 hours, 8 to 10 hours, depending on traffic, on a 2-lane highway. Right. And then you take a right at Prince George, and you go all the way down to Cache Creek, which I think is about 5 or 6 hours. And then you take a left at Cache Creek, and you go, no, I'm lying. So Cache Creek, and then you have to come back you got to get to Kelowna. When you get to Kelowna, you go from Kelowna to Red Rock or something Rock, and then you turn down there and get to Grand Forks, and from Grand Forks you go to Rossland, and then from Rossland you'd cut around to Trail, and then just outside of Trail was a place called Fruitvale, which used to make me laugh. I'm like,
of course.
We'd go to Fruitvale, and that's where my grandparents lived. So
wow, after all those directions, I'm gonna hitchhike.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get lost if I drive.
Yeah. I think
it was about 2 days. It was about 2 days it would take us to get there.
That is epic, right? That's that's obviously a lot further than I thought. I mean, I lived in Chilliwack and on Vancouver Island growing up, but obviously, we obviously never. I made it into Kelowna. I remember Kelowna was like the big city, I think, if you're in the interior and stuff. But like I was saying, that's what I remember of Trail, is that best athletes in British Columbia, I think, come out of there and kick our asses all the time.
In baseball and also in hockey, in the Trail Smoke Eaters won the gold medal at the Olympics in like 1950 something or something like that. They were one of the last teams that was sent just as a club team to the Olympics.
Oh wow!
All right, so so there's something in the water there, or all the men of Trail are like your grandfather, and they're running the show down there, churning out these athletes.
Yeah, basically. Cesar Maniago's from there, and I think a lot of the it's a big Italian family. I'm trying to think. He married Cassie Campbell. Who married Cassie Campbell? Tambellini? No, is it Tambellini? No, Tambellinis are from there too. A lot of Canucks people. It's very, very big hockey. Sorry, Francisco, we brought up hockey.
Yeah, no, I thought I was gonna say the Sopranos, but
the Sopranos, yeah.
And this, I think, and Prince George, if I'm correct, is kind of a land that's lost in time. It's hippie islands, right? It's the hippie islands.
No, it's more right wing island. But it's it's Hell's Angels that don't ride their motorbikes except for 2 months a year because it's snowing all the time there. It's the weird. It's Hell's Angels that can't ride motorbikes, so they have to put them someplace that doesn't get much.
There's your directions. You need to get to Trail, turn right at the Hell's Angels who don't ride the motorbike. and keep going for about 5 hours down the road.
And I remember they used to have this huge wooden statue, this monster, Prince George, and it was the logging capital of BC, and he was made out of logs.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, right. Yeah, classy stuff up there, man.
But it was the big smoke. Prince George was the smoke. That's where you went to get things if you needed things. So
yeah, I'm trying to. My parents came back with some totem poles. We had some totem poles in our back garden and stuff, and I thought they bought them. Oh, I'm thinking St. George's Island, aren't I? That's the British Columbia island that's lost in time, and it's just full of hippies who are making. Yeah,
I know what you're talking. Yeah, no, down there. Yeah, those are where all the hippies are, and up there is where the people all punch each other.
Yeah, it's a big difference. You don't want to show up thinking it's the hippies and going, "Hey, I'm here," and then.
By the way, I do have to say that Ian actually took me to his hometown for a show, and it was great. It was so much fun to perform and to see where he lived, his house, where his room, where he grew up and everything.
Right.
And I got paid on smoked salmon.
Smoked salmon, red smoked salmon up there.
Nah, I did get paid, but no, they gave us smoked salmon.
I do. Back in the old days, I used to do a fundraiser every year, and I'd take 2 comics up with me, and you and Matt Fultron came with me that year.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the last one. Was it the last one? I may have done one after that. I don't know.
Hopefully it wasn't because of us. They're like, we can't do this.
They loved you guys.
Those guys took all our salmon and our women.
Ate all the salmon. They talked to our women and took our salmon.
Well, the salmon's not cheap too, Francisco. So you did pretty good for yourself, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was great. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah. What was your first impression when you arrived in Terrace? When you what did you think?
It was fun. It was like it felt like Canada, like it was kind of cold and but it was like a small town, but it was snowing, but it was nice, but everybody was so nice and just everybody was just so nice and helpful and I really liked it.
And the airport is, when you get to the airport, you're like, oh, I hope we're not in the town. Yeah, it's
right.
I mean, we had to get into the little plane. That's always a sign when you're when you go, when you have to transfer to the little plane, then you go oh, okay, I'm going. Mm-hmm. I'm going to.
When you're getting in the puddle jumper.
Yeah, you haven't lived until you've been in one of those small planes in weather.
Yeah, I don't know if one of those small little puddle jumpers ever flies smoothly, even in ideal weather.
No,
they're just meant to be thrown around by God.
Yeah. And young pilots.
Yeah, man.
Okay, if I survive, I fly the big ones.
Yeah. Someday. All right on. Well, this brings us. We're up to question number 4 now. I was asking if an airline had ever lost your luggage, and where were you going? And you mentioned that it was. You mentioned the airlines, United and Alaska Airlines, and you were on your way home, which immediately I thought that's a bonus. The fact that it didn't jump into mind of the time that you got screwed going to a destination, because at least when you're coming home and they lose your luggage, you know that you can go home. I'm assuming you didn't have all of your clothes with you.
I didn't have my keys in there.
Oh, that would suck. Oh yeah, that's a shame. Yeah, man. How did you get back in your house?
I don't know if am I like you guys. I rarely check bags. Only in the last couple of years have I started checking things. When I take merch, I'll check a merch bag. But there's nothing in there, and if that gets lost, that gets lost. I don't care. But the stuff I need, I don't check. I just make sure I can take it with me. So I'm sure it was I was late and I had to check a bag or something at times. And I remember just the big thing I remember is, it's got my stuff. I'm home, but I don't have my stuff, because that's still your stuff, but it's you don't really need it, like you say, because most comedians, and I'm sure you're like me, had your home stuff and your travel stuff. Mm-hmm. So I still had stuff. I had basically had everything, so it wasn't that big of a deal. Airlines have been pretty good. I think airlines, for the most part, for the lost luggage, get a bad rap, I think.
I think so. And did you get it? You said you got it back from a van, like a Meet the Parents, kind of like they bring it back.
Yeah, it's one of those wait for delivery. I've had to do it here in LA as well a couple times actually. I feel like it happens a lot on the way to LAX. But
Right.
yeah, you're just waiting. I think the van also takes passengers, and it's one of those ones that loads up at the airport with like 8 passengers who are all paying $25 each, and they don't realize that they're all going to different parts of Los Angeles.
Right.
And then because I tried it once when I first moved here, and it took me like almost 2 hours.
I did it too.
You got back on the bus as soon as you got home because you had to leave again. It took you that long.
Basically, those things are like, it's like a private bus. It's the same thing as a bus, but you know you're just gonna have to wait there until you get to your turn. But it's just less time in a way, and also they drop you like by your house or close to your house, so it's not like but it is a bus because you have to like wait for like
I think
2 hours.
Uber and Lyft have crushed those things. They've crushed those.
Oh
things.
yeah, they destroy those. I mean, even cabs. I don't know, like why. Who's taking cabs anymore? Do you take cabs? Like
people that don't have credit cards or bank accounts. Those are the people that take cabs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I moved here from London, I was in Britain, and you can frequently take a cab because you can hail in the streets in Britain.
Right.
And I moved here instinctually thinking this is the way the world is, and and Uber hadn't started yet. So yeah, my like standing out in the middle of the street in Los Angeles trying to flag down a taxi is an impossible.
Looking like a lunatic. Look at this guy waving at every cab that goes by.
It's another Canadian just being friendly to everybody.
Hi, how are you? Nice to see you. How are you?
Hey there, brain guts in the chat. I see your question, and we're talking with Ian Bagg here. He's regaling us with tales for the road and stuff, but we'll get to your. That is a good question, man. I'm sure we'll have a minute to ask it of him afterwards. I know he'll probably enjoy answering that one. It brings us up to question 5. You want to?
Yes, which was what was your favorite recreational activity while on the road? And you mentioned going to arenas or sports arenas to see the architecture.
Yeah.
So the big thing.
And another very important thing that he mentioned, is that the gym thing, which I thought is very interesting. You won't do it in a hotel. You don't. So even though you've arrived to your hotel, you don't want to go.
Well,
to the
I mean, to be
gym
fair, gym. To be fair, hotel gym sucks. I mean, it's always like, have you ever been to the, you always go like, oh, we got a gym, and then you go there, and it's like a treadmill from the 1950s, like the first one. And
also,
I'm like,
a family. There's a family in there trying. This is weird. Look at these things. These are weird. They're all trying it all out. But it's not that. It's as comedians, we can get stuck inside our hotels. We can. So if you make sure that you find a gym in your neighborhood to go to, it gets you out of the hotel, gets you for a walk, and it's good for your mental health. So that's why I try to do that.
And also works too with for material too, because you might see something that you can use it for the show at night. You'd be like, hey, I was at the gym. And
so
a little thing about the town or whatever.
Yeah, and I think it's good because we have to mentally, as comedians, we have to make sure that we don't get lost in the wormhole, because it can affect all of us.
That's a good thing to remind me of, because I actually have never done that with a gym. I go for a walk or something or get some food, but I always drag it. Actually, Francisco and I have had a discussion about this, because I always bring it back to the hotel room and to eat. Like that's kind of my experience in the city.
I don't mind that. He just eats it in the bed, which I'm like, no, there's a perfectly good desk there. Why are you?
It's not a good desk. You're sitting in a corner. It's a little wedged thing in a cubicle. You don't want to eat like you're in an office.
You don't eat where you sleep.
So
well, yeah, well, I still think that's good to take it back to the hotel room or whatever. I think the other thing is better. I think
But I do say too, I have done the whole gyms, going to a different gym. I also, what I do, because sometimes I don't have time to. Most of the times it's like one nighter, so I don't have time to like check. But I do always try to go to a restaurant that is from that place, not like a chain restaurant.
Right. Yeah. That's a great idea.
I can just to eat something that's like, I don't want to eat, the same, Panera, which is, we do it all the time. And I'm like, okay, now let me try to find some, if I can, or if I have time. Yeah. And you also mentioned about the architecture.
My favorite type of architecture is sporting event, like stadiums or theaters or whatever. I like to go see what they look like. And it started in Rome years ago. You know, I wanted to go to that stadium there, and the Colosseum, and I'm just like, oh, this is basically what we do. It's entertainment, whether it be sports or so. And it's just incredible the amount of people that you can get into the buildings, and how many of the buildings still are very similar. They're very similar, the stadiums, to this day. So I just like to go look at it and see. And
but you don't go to the events, you just go outside.
Well, I'll go outside, but if I can go to the event, I'll go to the event. And when it comes to hockey, I'll go for 20 minutes. If I can only go to the first period, and then I have to go do the show, I'll do it. I'll just to check it out, and I'll walk around the whole time and try to talk to somebody that works in the building and see some stuff and see what kind of histories from that place.
That's cool. That's a cool idea.
Yeah, that's an awesome idea. I mean, that's what I love to do that myself as well. I want to collect every city's like sports team or sporting event. I love going there. To your question there, Francisco, that you were asking, I went and watched the Milwaukee Bucks play at home for 10 minutes. That's all I had was 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get in and check out, like, because that Pabst Arena or whatever whole little those city block area in Milwaukee, really awesome. And I was like, it was like $20 or whatever. The guy wouldn't let. I tried the whole, but I'm a comedian. I'm on next door. I just want to look at your venue, and he wouldn't do it. So I had to drop the 20 to watch the Milwaukee Bucks for 10 minutes.
But that's cool because it's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, it also gives you a vibe of what the people are like in that town. Watching them cheer.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
That's another thing too that also Ian has done for me, which is in Vegas. He has given me the chance to go to events there, like the was it Absinthe? He got me tickets to that, and then he got me tickets, which was a funny thing. The one that you gave, the other one that you got me tickets to, which was a new one, or
Atomic Saloon.
Which that was so funny because I
was with my
Atomic Saloon.
Saloon. Which was, what was funny about it is like it was a buddy of mine was visiting. I'm like, hey, we're gonna go see an event, and I was thinking it was like Absinthe. I was like, there's gonna be like girls, it's kind of like just hot girls, just like dancing and all this stuff. And then we get to this one, and also we had like we got some gummies, so we were already like high.
Oh, fantastic!
And then we're like, so they sat us like the seat, like they sat us like behind. This is a stage, so they sat us behind the stage, so you could see. So then
you were on the stage.
We're on the stage, but we were behind
and on gummies.
On gummies, and then all of a sudden the thing starts, and it's like a cowboy, like a sexy cowboy, just like. Like showing his body and stuff like that. And then the next one comes like two cowboys. And then my buddy's looking at me like, what the fuck? like we were laughing.
I could come out to you.
Yeah. Like we're starting. I'm like, I mean,
there's some really hot women in that one too, though.
But what's funny is like there's two hot girls come out, and we're like, oh, nice. And then they come out, and then they were dressed as nuns, so they never took their clothes off, and we're like, what the fuck?
Until the end. Did you stay for the whole thing? Because they're at the end.
Yeah, we watched. We watched. It was fun. It was just so funny, and also like we're behind, so the guys would shake their asses, and we just see them.
Oh wow, you got a hell of a show.
Yeah, we got a good shit.
JJ, you must have seen Absinthe. Have you seen Absinthe?
Yeah, I've been to Absinthe a couple times, and
oh, good.
Yeah, and then
it's a great show.
Yeah, I mean, even comedian, but do you know Phil Nickel?
Yeah, one of the last time he just auditioned for that, right?
Yeah, he flew out from Britain. I mean, he's an amazing entertainer. He'd be great in Absinthe and stuff. But
I want to say that was last February, and then within 2 weeks that we were locked down after he auditioned for it too. So.
Oh man, so yeah, maybe.
What did he audition for? The main guy?
The host. They need a comedian as the host. I would say.
It's what are the
maybe he auditioned for the ass wiggler.
Oh my god,
I'm sure he's capable of doing that too. But, Absinthe is great. I mean, I love that whole concept of a little 5-minute pieces, you know,
Yeah.
like a whole cast of crazily talented people with their
I
I
love
mean, it's not a 5-minute skill. I didn't
It's
mean to
always
say it,
fun
but
to
it's all
see.
these lovely.
Yeah.
And it's always fun to see, I think, just to see other art forms as an audience member, because we always performing, so we never get to see the other side. So it's always good to see the kind of like, oh yeah, there's. So
Isn't that-
Yeah.
Is it something for you guys? Something that I've noticed during this is how I was kind of ignoring life. Like I need to take breaks more than I was, because I was turning and burning a lot.
100%. Like I think even what you were saying about like just shows and stuff like that, it's like stuff that you like was like so important. Now I'm like, it wasn't that. I mean, we want to perform, we want to work and stuff like that, but you also need to enjoy your life. You know what I mean? Especially with the people.
Some clubs we really needed to say no to. We really needed to.
Yes.
Some you're just like, oh yeah, you didn't need to treat me like that. I should have said no. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I learned that a lot too from this to just be more mindful of like, like saying no, like life, about like enjoying the stuff that you want to do, you know, like not feeling that you have to force yourself. It's like, because there's some, like you were saying, and there's some clubs or some shows that you're like, oh yeah, I need to do this because I need to, and then now I'm thinking about like it didn't change anything. I could have done it or not done it. I didn't get better or not. I didn't like improve in like career or anything. It was a show.
I think it comes to a point where it's quality over quantity. And
that's exactly what I was gonna say.
And if we don't really know. So it takes something like hopefully not as big as this next time for us to go. Oh, yeah. So
yeah. And and to your point, and that's exactly how it happens too. You start doing the quantity thing. You're like, as long as I'm busy, my soul is successful. You know, I'm into this. And then you get so busy doing the quantity that you don't even give yourself the chance to accept
the
that
quality.
that you're not doing quality anymore. So that's
it becomes the law of diminishing returns at some point. You know, where you just, like it becomes a thing where the more you do, then you're actually getting worse, you know, because it gets to that point where like you have to find what's your balance to be like, okay, I'm doing enough, but I'm still enjoying my life and being happy with what I'm doing at the moment, you know?
Yeah. Every now and then when one of your comic friends, you know, they'll have that arrogant statement of like, I don't get out of bed for less than $100. And you're like, oh, shut up, you pretended. And then you think about it, you're like, that's probably a good moral standard to live by. You've earned yourself a free night.
There should be a minimum, you know, like, there's got to be something it's got to be more than just money too. It's got to be, you know, I want to go there and you know,
or even shows like, I think like even like TV stuff or TV, you know, like sometimes it's not like, for me, I've turned stuff that it's not about the money. It's just like, I don't want to, it's not going to work for what I want to do or how I want to, you know, and why I put myself through that. Just so
I've got a couple out there that I'm just like, oh God, why did I say comedy.tv shows up and you're just like, oh, it just brings back memories and you're just like, oh, but I don't feel good about myself.
That's it too.
$3.
A lot. Yeah. A lot of people might not know the difference, the length of time there can be between a booking and the gig arriving in your calendar. And that's the thought we all have. I'm like, what kind of mindset was I in when I agreed to go to El Segundo for $10?
I have had those like on a Thursday where like, I don't know how I agreed to this. I don't want to get on the plane, you know?
Yeah.
And I've done it. I've not bought a plane ticket. So then I end up paying more for the plane ticket.
Yeah, it's happening now.
So what I'm saying is go to stadiums.
I
think that's an absolutely awesome thing to do.
But that's a cool idea. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to start doing that whenever I'm in a big city that has a stadium.
I went and saw Vegas play when my last live shows were in Vegas, but with Jim Jeffries, and I took him to a Vegas hockey game. It was Vegas. Insane. It was Vegas and Edmonton, and he's not open to hockey. He's very Australian. I immediately regretted it because I was like, I would have had a better. It was an afternoon game, evening shows. I'm like, I could have had a good time here.
And I think hockey is such a game that when you see it live, it's like it's like 10 times better. Like it's just like I think it's the to me like the sport that when you see it live you go like what the heck? Like because you go see basketball and baseball or football you go and I kind of sit but hockey is like what the hell is like the ice man. Just even the coldness like
you can hear the scraping of the ice and the smashing of the bodies. It's a great time, man.
It's and the talent.
By the way, Ian, what did you think about those Lake Tahoe ones? That was so cool, right?
I thought it was great. I think I love the fact that they're taking risks and playing on like ice in the middle of nowhere and I think there's going to be more of that, and I think at some point there'll be a certain amount of fans that'll go. It'll be a crazy expensive ticket or some sort of giveaway that helps your team grow. Win.
Right.
We're going to the middle of nowhere and you're going to be choppered in. I think they got to do that. I was disappointed because they've insisted on doing a couple of these games at noon, and noon is when the sun is at its highest point. And we know that's when it's the hottest, and we're using ice. So let's be smart.
Yeah.
Because when they did it at Dodger Stadium, they had the exact same problem. They had to play later in the day because of the ice. So I was annoyed by that. That was the only thing I was annoyed by. But I think it's great, and I think hockey is was becoming a little too stuffy, and I think the show Spitting Chicklets has helped them break out of the mold a little bit.
Right on.
And Kevin Bieksa being on Hockey Night in Canada is kind of shaking it up, and I like to think that it's getting a little bit more fun because I think hockey people are the funniest people in the world. So yeah. I gotta tell you guys, I made another mistake when I was dragging non-hockey fans to see Vegas play while we were on the road. So we're talking managers and everything, and I built it up, and I actually pitched. I don't know if you've been to a Vegas game yet, but of course they've got a great reputation for their in-between periods entertainment because there's so many entertainers in Vegas, right? That sometimes they even get Cirque du Soleil, will descend from the roofs and do a little show at their in-between periods. And I told the people about this in my party. I was like, sometimes they get Cirque du Soleil. You never know. Vegas is so full of entertainers. Anyway, on this particular game that I dragged non-hockey people to, the in-between periods entertainment was an Elvis impersonator. And and all he did was drag somebody to the audience and tell them that they were going to be married in the next intermission. And he came back out in the second intermission and did a ceremony. I was embarrassed for the game of hockey that we had this old Elvis impersonator doing this, and I kind of promised everybody it would be Cirque du Soleil. It's funny that you say you went with Jim Jeffries because I can't remember if it was you or Glenn Wool, but I was at a Kings game once and I ran into either you or Glenn Wool with him. With Jim.
Oh, right. And was he in a terrible mood?
He was hating, and he was wearing leather pants with a leather jacket. And I was like, "Why are you dressed like Eddie Murphy to come in?"
Yeah.
And Wooly was like, I think it was Wooly. It might have been you because you both had that crazy hair at that point. And then it was just like, I want to do this. You could tell he wanted to break away from Jim.
It might have been Wooly because I don't remember trying them in Los Angeles, but I've learned my lesson. Like I've learned with a few friends, like I know by now they're not hockey fans, so I'm not gonna try to.
Because it's a waste of opportunity of like bringing somebody that you like. Like I mean, me and JJ we've gone to like baseball games and we can easily go there because we both like baseball and we're gonna. And it's cool. Like I grew up with like it's cool to go with somebody that knows the game, or even if they don't know that are really interested about it. Like if they're gonna learn, like, hey, can you explain me what this means? Or
right.
But if you're not gonna like it, then don't go.
I don't know how you can't go to an event and just enjoy the atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly. It's some sort of mental block that some people have. I mean, I knew nothing about Aussie rules football when I was in Australia, but I went and caught. It was it's a great game, right? Great game. Once you grasp it, and it's so much easier to understand than you'd think. Watching it from the outside, you think, what is going on here? And then once you just learn, oh no, they can kick. You got to catch. Just only a couple steps, and you're allowed to smoke each other. That's basically all you need to know.
It's basketball, football, and hockey put together. It's a very interesting game. Yeah, no hoops.
Yeah, really fun. And that's you only get to see these games or get these experiences if you're open to it. So
Yeah, you got to be
Of
open to it.
course.
You got to have fun. It,
Yeah.
it lets you know about people, and and there's nothing like seeing somebody get hammered in an event.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took a California girl to a California girlfriend to the Halifax Mooseheads.
Does she work at the
where I'm-
California Pizza Kitchen?
She does not. She's from California.
A California pizza chicken girl.
Yeah, I took a California Pizza Kitchen girl. I took her out of the kitchen. I took her out of the kitchen, and I took her, and I was good. But in the breaks between periods, they had that competition where everybody gets in the Zorb balls, and they're trying to push a big foam hockey puck. So they're all smoking each other on the ice. And this was her only hockey experience, but she still thinks now here in LA, she thinks that that's what hockey games are. She thinks, oh, they do the skate thing, but the best bit is when they put on the bubble suits and they smoke each other between. I don't know how the scores go to which team during that one, but that's the part of the game that I like. Yeah.
When the second group of fellas comes out and just runs into each other with those balls, that's when it gets crazy. I got to get back in the kitchen and make some pizza.
These are great, buddy. So we're at number 6. This is I mean, we all have to do this in our career. This is a question that we're going to want to ask a lot of our guests when we have them on. I see you got a couple more questions in the side too. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys, for pitching your questions. We will get to you in 2 more questions. What was your first big move for the sake of your career?
Yeah.
And you said you loaded up something in your head.
Vancouver.
Yeah, Vancouver. So I came home one day. I was working in a gold mine.
In a gold mine?
In a gold
Wow.
mine. Yeah, I
actually like going like this?
No, actually, they drill holes, and I would load them up with explosives, and we would blow them up. I was an explosives assistant, explosive engineer assistant.
That's pretty cool.
I started out with this dynamite company from the bottom, like where I just packed the trucks with dynamite, and they go up to the mines.
Did everybody have their fingers?
Not everybody.
What's the company? Was the company called Acme?
It was called. Was it called Acme? It was. I think there was an Acme, and I got to remember the name of it because it was something. It was almost like a cartoon. It was very. I think it might have been TNT or something. I can't remember. It was as bad as you would think it would be, but I just kind of worked my way up to it, and I got to a point, and I was like, well, I got to go to school if I'm going to go any further. But I was like, I want to be a comedian, so I just came home after making all this money, and I was going into the fall. And we get laid off because all the snow would come down. We wouldn't be able to work. And I said to my father, I said, I'm moving to Vancouver to become a comedian. And my dad just rolled his eyes and all right. And my mom said, okay, have fun. So my dad I said, can I get a ride to the airport tomorrow? So I went to the airport, got on a plane.
Like the next day.
The next day, and just got on a plane. And me and my buddy Trent went with me, and then we ended up partying in Vancouver for a year before I even tried to become a comedian. And I never went to school. I just became, started comedy. So,
oh really? Wow. You partied there for a year before you even took the baby steps of like doing your first gig or anything? You were already there, just.
But you always wanted to be a comedian?
I always wanted to be a comedian. I knew that I would have to have a career at some point. So it was kind of like I was at this, and I just went down, and I was just like, I don't know, but I still didn't know how to become a comedian. So it wasn't that I just went down and partied. I was just like, I got to figure out how to become a comedian, because where I was, nobody was in entertainment. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So there wasn't anybody I could ask. There was nothing, nobody went that way. And so I went down there, and I just had kind of asked a lot of questions for a while, hung out with people. I only went to one comedy show, seen that, and I was like, okay, this is where it happens.
Wow. Do you remember who you saw?
Yeah, I saw Evan Carter. Do you remember him from Toronto?
No, I don't actually.
He's a very slight black guy from Toronto. David Bruce and Billy Mitchell.
Right.
And David Bruce had a coffee cup, and he was the MC, and he kept drinking from the coffee cup. And I just remember being confused. I'm like, why has he got to drink now? He doesn't understand why he's got to drink. He would drink after every joke. I was like, this doesn't make sense to me. And I was just like, well, this is where it's got to happen. And I just was writing and stuff. And then all of a sudden one day, one of my friends said, hey man, you got to try. And I was like, yeah, or I'm going to go to school. So I went on a contest, and
we all have done every contest.
Give you that pressure.
I went, but I didn't really. So I went and I wrote the jokes on my hand. I was so nervous, I sweat them off. I did impressions of fish to get away with it because I just didn't have anything to do. I'm like coho, and and I didn't win, but so I thought, oh, I guess that was my shot. I guess I'll go. We'll go.
Right.
Later did you know?
And the guy that was managing the place, his name is Keith Bale. He happened to say to me, "Hey, you're really funny. You should come back next week for amateur night." And if he hadn't said that to me, I wouldn't have gone back.
Wow.
I didn't know how it worked at all. So I didn't know. I thought you just got your shot and that was it. You know?
To me, that's why I always believe in signs like of life. Yeah. And that was life telling you, like, because you did the risk of doing it for the first time. And then that guy telling you, hey, come back. That was life.
Right.
God, whatever you believe in, being like, this is what you're supposed to do.
I remember a couple weeks later seeing some of the guys and go, oh, everybody gets invited back.
Right.
It's like those are the little things that, like you said, like if that guy wouldn't have said it, you would have gone to study and you forgot about it.
Honest to God, my whole career and life has kind of been that, what you say. Like when I went from Vancouver to New York, I had a gig in Montreal and I took a train from Montreal to New York. I didn't have any place to stay. I had a guy's phone number that said he would put me on stage. That's it. That's how to me, that was, I'm going to New York. Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
right on.
$700 in my pocket. And I got off the train in Penn Station in Manhattan. I'm like, I have no place to stay. I don't know what's going on. Wow. There was a piece of paper on the ground that said youth hostel, $14 a night.
There it is.
I lived there for 3 months.
Wow.
Right.
That's so crazy. I mean, that's like, I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's signs in life that tell you, because you make the sacrifice of doing it. Like you took the risk, and then life is like, okay, now I'm going to reward you because you took the risk. Here, stay in this hotel for 14 bucks.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It was funny. I remember. It was the comic strip where Lucian Hold had the comic strip, and he started putting me on. He paid me on everybody got paid on the table, but I was making like $25 a night, and I was just like, I was just like, I'm in show business.
Wow.
I got $14 for my rent.
I'm clearing $11.
This is amazing. Every night, this is insane, right? So, and then, but I would bring these people from the youth hostel. After a while, I'd bring all these. So one night, I'd show up with a whole Japanese contingent, all German. They're like, what the hell? What is it? These weird entourages,
right?
It was a lot of fun.
Hilarious. That's awesome.
And that, can I just ask you and to take you back to the move to Vancouver? What kind of, so you had your buddy, so after being there for a year, and then your buddy went, you got to do this. And I'm guessing it's because you were making notes and you were looking like a guy who was going to do it, but you weren't taking the steps, and your buddy said. But what were your living conditions like in that point, in that first move to Vancouver? Were you living in a little shitty?
No, we weren't, because I like I say, I came from working in a gold mine, just banking money.
Right. Okay. Right.
So we had a I think I moved a couple of different times, but always nice apartments. Now I was working like part-time at a sign shop, that kind of thing, and just trying to figure it out, but saying I want to be a comedian, I can't figure it out. And going and seeing all my friends played in bands, so I go see them in these clubs in Vancouver and around Vancouver, and then finally somebody said, you got to do it or you got to shut up,
Right.
So like, yeah, it's time. So I did it. So
that's so cool.
We lived in man. The last house we lived in, me and 4 guys, we lived in it, and they sold it as soon as we met. Very, very Vancouver. They sold it to an Asian company as soon as we moved into it, and nobody collected rent for 8 months.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's so lucky.
And then they showed up on the 8th month and said, we're here for the rent.
Before the 8 months?
No.
For 8 months.
Oh,
and
shit.
This is the last month. We're tearing it down and we're building a high rise here.
Oh.
And we said, we don't have your rent.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
They didn't care. They're like, okay, well, we had a house. We destroyed the house like for our party because they were tearing it down. We like took it with like hammers all over. We just had this house burning party at the end of this day. It's so much fun. It was just a great time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
In a way, initially I was thinking that's bad timing, but it's actually good timing for you guys at that age to go, that means we could destroy this place if it's being torn down.
And then I moved downtown, East Van. I moved to East Van and lived down there for the longest time. And then I met some girl, lived with her for a while, and just had a lot of fun in Vancouver, and then ended up in New York. And then I was in New York for 5-6 years. Then I started doing some commercials out here, and I just remember we were coming out to LA, and I remember the weather is always the same here. This is fantastic. And then I just asked. I remember asking my representation at the time, "Am I allowed to live in LA?" And they said, "You can live wherever you want." And I said, "I'm going to live in LA." Yeah.
Nice.
Good choice.
Yeah, I like it. I think I made the right choice. It was weird because some of my friends really blew up.
By they staying in New York, you said?
By staying in New York, but I feel this is nothing's ever easy, and I think I've had a great career, and I'm happy with my quality of life I've gotten out of LA.
Mm-hmm. I often think of the standard of living. After I moved here from London, and I don't try to think of what the sacrifice to my career it was. Instead, I think it's sunshine. I have sun on my cheeks right now because I went to a park yesterday.
Right.
It's February. So I think I love that. I was rained on for 15 years in London.
Right. And the people that go to LA, I'm just like, I don't get, like, there's nothing here that isn't in every other city in like for bad things. That's in every city.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing more in this city.
Yeah.
And when they complain about, there's too many fake people, I'm like, it's all actors. They're actors. It's all money people in New York, and they treat their towns like shit. They don't clean anything up there. They don't put anything in the garbage in their lives in that.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So I'm just like, I love living out here.
Yeah, I like LA. I mean, I grew up in DC, Maryland, and even though I like where I grew up, it was great. It was nice, but yeah, I definitely like LA more. Obviously, the weather, but just the people here, all the things that you can see, like you said, Ian, it has everything pretty much. I mean, the only thing that I mean, not even dislike, that the only annoying part of LA is just everything is so far, in terms of the travel. Like everything is like, we need to travel. It's always like 4 hours or 5 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
Well, we got 3 airports.
Yes.
3 airports. And it's and all trade-offs.
If you told me when I was 16 years old that later on in my life I'd be living on the beach in California, it was nothing that I didn't plan this. Like, I wasn't like, I'm going to live in LA. Like, I never once as a kid said, I want to live in Los Angeles. I feel like I've lucked out and I love it. Would I like my family to be closer? Of course. That's it.
Yeah. I hear you there. And that brings us to the final question of our little fast questions round. Was, have you ever felt that your life was at risk in your job, in your travels and your job? And I mean, take your pick. This could be a post gig thing, or it can just be a stick up,
an actual plane falling down or something.
So we said Victoria, where I walked into a big fight going on and ended up getting punched in the head. That was after a show.
Really?
But the one time where I was nervous after a show was I was on stage one night, and it was in the Arlington Improv, which is not a great club, but it's
in Dallas.
Dallas, yeah. Not the Addison, the Arlington one. So, and it wasn't very full, and there was this big black guy, and he was huge, and he was with this girl, and I was, of course, doing my thing where I talk to the crowd, and I just said, "And what do you do?" He said, "I'm a gangbanger," right, like this, and I said, "Oh." I said, "I know 2 different types of gangbanging. Is it the fun kind, or is it the happy-go-lucky kind, or the mean kind?" And he picked up a glass.
Jesus!
And he threw it at me.
Wow!
And I seen it coming, and I just happened to step away, and it missed me and hit the brick wall behind me. Right?
And it shattered.
No, it didn't shatter. And he was massive. And I said, "Less shoulders, more squats."
What? You kept going back to the well?
Yeah, and people were going nuts, and he got up and he just ran out of the place. It was so bizarre. Like he ran out of the place. I'm like,
like to get a gun or something.
Yeah. And the bouncers came back in and they said he got in his car and he drove away, and he left the girl there. Right? He left the girl.
Wow.
And I said, what did he drive away in? He drove away in a purple Porsche. And I was like, oh, I said, he's a wannabe. He's one of those guys that bought a Porsche, but doesn't have enough money to pick the color he wants. So he had to get what was left over. And she was just like having a great time and thought he was a loser. But honestly, I thought he's coming back at some point during the show. Yeah. I remember that afterwards the club manager was like, we'll give you a ride home back to the hotel. But I'd walk every night, and I was like, he's not taking this away from me. So I insisted on walking back, and I just remember walking back like I'm like, I probably should have got a ride. But I'm like, there's no fucking I think that might have been the closest, I could have been like pretty, I could have been killed on that one.
You honestly never know which ones are the crazies all the time. It's never obvious who's gonna be the crazies, but
I try
when they unveil themselves.
I say it, in the show now, I say, don't be offended. Like, don't come to a comedy show and say, I can't believe, you gotta, like, don't please, if you're gonna enjoy me, don't be offended by what I'm gonna say. Have fun with it. I don't do anything to be above you, and that's why if people are doing that, then I can see why you're offended. But I feel we're the same level, so please, have fun with me. So
that's great.
100%, brother. And what we've decided to, we're ending our podcast on one final question. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but before you go, we were just wondering, well-traveled soul that you are, do you have one piece of travel advice? I know you mentioned something that your mother said earlier in the podcast. I can't remember now what your mom said to you, but do you have a great piece of travel advice that you like to hand down to people or let them know?
I think it's actually from my mom, and it's a great piece of advice. Try to fly on the national airline so you get to know the people before you get there, and they'll know things about that country that other airlines won't, because they're not from there, and they will tell you some things, and you'll have a little bit of and I travel. Like, I hate when somebody tells me about a country and they've never been there.
Yeah, that's the greatest thing. Right?
Yeah.
I remember I during the pandemic, I had to get rid of a friend because he was telling me about how this war was going on in South Africa. And I'm like, have you ever been to South Africa? And I'm like, no. I'm like, well, you might want to shut up. All right.
Yeah.
So,
travel.
Just traveled. Yeah. Don't take it for granted.
It's also because travel is like, not that you learn so much about other people, you learn so much about yourself.
Yeah. I've traveled so much it doesn't happen, but I used to love going to a place that I had never been and just scaring the shit out of myself and not being prepared for it. It just
man.
Yeah. So
fun.
Well, awesome advice.
You make friends everywhere too when you travel.
Yeah, that's another one.
Yeah, man, that's great advice, brother. And some great answers. You've kicked ass for us, man.
Thanks guys. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. You guys are two of the funniest guys out there, and just nice human beings, which is awesome.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you very much. And yes, follow Ian on all his social media, Ian Bagg. Thank you very much for having us here, and stand by with JJ and Francisco.
See you guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.